when the Lakers brought in Westbrook, I'm not a Westbrook fan, and my takeaway was an obvious one. He can't play off the ball, and LeBron is a de facto point guard and should be. It's like what Giannis or Luka's become. Like, just that's where the offense gets. The genesis of the offense for the Bucks is Giannis. I mean, I can see the offense. It's the same thing every time down the floor. Here comes Drew Holiday off the curl, and it's like, okay, this is what they do. So LeBron's going to have the ball. That every offense that LeBron's on, they all look the same. They're all generated from the same space, and they should, because he's a brilliant ball handler and one of the great passers of all time. So, but I thought that my takeaway was, well, Anthony Davis is hurt a lot. LeBron gives you probably 65 games now. Somebody's got to score 28. They just don't have enough scorers. And then the toxicity was worse. He was worse than I thought. And I'm like the least Westbrook-centric guy in the media. I think you have to move him because it's not just a fit. He lacks self-awareness. And, Jason, you can be a lot of things. But if you don't get it, and you don't get it, you're not coachable. I think you have to move him. And I think they're leaking the story that coaches are being asked how Westbrook would work because they want teams to think they're going to give it another try, but I don't think they want to. That's my take on it. Where do you think the Lakers look like game 1 next year?
They simply can't bring him back. In terms of how bad this year was, which is an all-time catastrophe. We're talking about a team that literally was the second leading favorite in Vegas going into the season. It's a catastrophe of all-time NBA history proportions. And you need to somehow cleanse that. And I don't care what Russ says, which, by the way, his exit presser was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in terms of a person deflecting any and all blame for anything that happened to him during the season. But if you're going to reset, you can't bring that guy back into training camp. I don't care if he makes apologies. I don't care if he works hard this summer. That would be such a bad gamble on their part. And what's dangerous here is the pride, because the reality is you might have to attach a first-round pick to Russ to get rid of him. But the front office is concerned with the optics of that, which is exactly because we've seen reporting. The Lakers don't want to attach a first-round pick to Russ. That's great. Nobody wants him. So how are you going to get rid of him unless you're willing to attach an asset to him, right? And at a certain point, that pride and just no one in the entire hierarchy of the Lakers is willing to just admit they made a mistake and move on. And clinging to that has been the biggest problem. But the only way I will feel even remotely optimistic about this is if they can get him out. And the advantage here is if you can flip him for, we'll call them overpaid role players, because you're going to get bad contracts in return because Russ is a bad contract. But there are overpaid role players that are better basketball players in a small role next to LeBron and AD than they would be elsewhere. Yes. Andrew Wiggins is a fantastic example of this. Max contract in Minnesota, you don't want anything to do with it. Role player alongside really good players, all of a sudden he's a functional piece. So embracing that and understanding that, flipping one bad contract that can't play for you for 2 or 3 bad contracts that can immediately play roles alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, that's a lot better option for you. So, I mean, I will feel horrible for Laker fans if they bring Russ back. That would be such an unbelievable disaster.